My name is Amy. My husband Joe and I have 4 amazing children that are here, 17, 16, 13, and 11. And on September 16th, 2020, our world fell apart when Carly, our then 12-year-old beautiful daughter, sustained a severe traumatic brain injury after a horrible fall while mountain biking. Yes, she had a helmet on, and yes, she had mountain biked many times before on this trail and many trails in the area. Carly spent 14 days in the pediatric ICU at Bronson, of which 7 of those days were in a coma. She was in a coma. She didn't move, talk, open her eyes, eat, or even breathe on her own. It was terrifying. Those days were honestly some of the worst days of my life. The doctors had no idea if she would recover or what that recovery would look like. I recounted all the precious moments I so often took for granted. I thought about all the sweet memories, her character, and who she is, and realized how fleeting life really is. I pondered the things I did and didn't do, the things I said or didn't say as a mom. Following our painstaking 14 days in the ICU, Carly was transferred to Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital. And then after she left Mary Free Bed, she had many follow-up medical appointments and 26 weeks of outpatient physical, occupational, and speech therapies. In those first few days of this dreadful journey with Carly's traumatic brain injury, I pleaded, screamed, and wept to God that if Carly made it through this, that God would have every bit of the glory, which is why I'm here. I specifically and repeatedly prayed that God would be glorified through her healing and that it would be a testimony of the great miracles He is able to perform. Through this excruciatingly painful journey, I learned many things. Number 1, God didn't leave our side for one moment. At times, I didn't think we would make it through the minutes and sometimes the seconds that transpired. God repeatedly showed His face in countless ways, walked with us when we couldn't walk, and spoke to us when we were so muffled by the trials, tears, and heartbreak of this time. We felt the power of Psalm 34:18, which says, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted." The first person who found Carly unresponsive on the trail after her fall was Sam. Sam is faithfully serving all of us in the Air Force as a pararescue man, which is a highly trained expert in medical and highly traumatic situations. He is sent to the front lines all over the world when terrible things happen. He is stationed in Japan and was on leave at home after a deployment to Afghanistan. Sam was the one who helped my husband in those first seconds as Carly lay on the trail unresponsive before the ambulance arrived. In addition, God put people on the trail who came up to the fall site who prayed for Carly as they waited for the ambulance. One of them was a homeschooling dad who we had never met. Our family homeschooled, which is why this was significant to us. We later found out the connection of him also being the husband of one of Carly's volleyball coaches. Small world. I am not much of a mountain biker, so my husband had dropped me off at Hobby Lobby for a few hours of shopping while he took the kids mountain biking. When I received the call about Carly's fall, I was completely in shambles. I went outside Hobby Lobby and paced back and forth, weeping in front of the store as I waited for my sister and brother-in-law to meet me to take me to the hospital. God strategically placed a stranger there who asked to say a prayer for Carly and our family. Our other 3 children were actually ahead of Carly, another God thing not to see their sister in this condition. When she fell on the trail, God made sure they were safe and got back to the truck by the help of yet one more unsuspecting stranger. God gracefully and strategically lined up these strangers within minutes of the accident. So many God-inspired moments within the first minutes of this journey. And we learned all of this after the accident, not, of course, during the moments. Throughout this journey, there were so many times we saw God's hand. He truly was with us every second and never left our side. These God moments kept us going when we were unable to sustain ourselves. We will all face challenges, trials, and heartaches, but God always works through these circumstances. Jesus tells us in John 5:17, "My Father is always working, and so am I." God taught us, the second one, to share our prayers, burdens, and needs with others, as well as to never miss the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. In the private ICU waiting room, as we waited for news of Carly's condition, a social worker came and told us that Carly was unresponsive with this severe head injury. They told us she was being transferred to the pediatric intensive care and was going to be seen by the ICU team and also a trauma team. She would be having surgery to put a brain bolt in to monitor brain pressure from the injury and bleeding, and in addition, she was going to be put on a ventilator as her consciousness level indicated her brain might not tell her when to breathe. Talk about being hit by a semi-truck. It was devastating news, but in that moment, God clearly spoke to me. He said, I will be with your family, but Carly and your family are going to need all the help and prayers you can get right now. Usually, my husband Joe and I are very private, and we tend to hide our struggles more than we should. I'm confident many of us here also have this tendency. I felt compelled to follow God's prompting and pleaded desperately with countless people to please pray for Carly. We were facing the possibility that this experience might take our precious and beautiful daughter from us, one of the most treasured blessings God had ever provided us with. Please share your burdens, your prayers, and your needs with others. We are meant to be in community and to help each other and to pray for each other. We all have trials and seasons of tribulations that we would rather not endure. I learned there is power in sharing. We were so grateful for our amazing family and friends. They were God's hands and feet to us. I pray that I never miss the opportunity to be a blessing to someone else and to always strive to make a difference in the world. I also encourage you to never underestimate the power you have to make a difference. You know what you do well. Share your talent, skills, and passions with others. Number 3, I have learned the power of miracles. Carly had somewhat of a grim prognosis that first week when she remained in a coma for 7 days. Her MRI indicated severe brain damage. She was on a ventilator, unresponsive, and dependent on nurses for every aspect of her care. After 4 days of being in a coma, they kept telling us she should be waking up by now. And the potential for more intense damage and a longer recovery was likely the longer she stayed in the coma. They told us there was a possibility she could remain in the coma for weeks or months. The unknowns of days 4 through 7 were definitely the most intense and extremely difficult for us. The doctors usually ended the conversation with "there's still a glimmer of hope." We desperately held on to that glimmer. Praise the Lord that on day 6, we witnessed a few subtle movements that seemed reflexive, but they were glimmers of hope we were desperately seeking. Finally, on day 7, Carly's eyes were starting to blink open periodically, and we witnessed more small movements. The doctor said she was coming out of the coma. I don't know if you guys have ever known anybody to come out of a coma, but I was naive in the fact that I thought she would just talk and walk and everything would be fine, but it didn't happen that way. It was devastating to see her come out of the coma and be unable to move, sit up, talk, smile, interact, or do much of anything. She continued to have constant and consistent care from the medical staff. Every day had its own battles. She had to be weaned off the ventilator, then she had breathing treatments. She came down with pneumonia, multiple lung infections, developed a bed sore. She suffered from gut-wrenching side effects and even withdrawals from the strong medication she was on. She had catheters and tubes in various places, had to be frequently suctioned and evaluated by doctors, therapists, and medical staff, had IVs that had to be rerouted because they failed, and the list continued. It was extremely daunting at times, but Carly started to make slow but steady progress in the intensive care unit. God was performing miracles and healing Carly. Every day, Carly continued to make progress. She began to follow simple commands and started inconsistently answering yes or no questions with nodding. More robust and consistent progress was seen later through the 4 to 6 hours of therapy a day when we transferred to Mary Free Bed. It took Carly a long time to find her voice again. The speech therapist thought she may have had damage to her vocal cords from the ventilator because she spoke with a whisper volume. In the 4th week after the accident, with the help of her speech and music therapist, Carly was able to sing a song. In fact, you will see part of this as I was able to catch it on a video. Up to this point, her voice was strained and her communication was inconsistent or delayed and usually very short 1 to 2 word phrases. Carly has always had a passion for music, and to not only hear her voice, but to hear her sing brought so much joy to my heart and many tears to my eyes. Our Carly was making her way back to us. Initially, the team thought she would be at Mary Free Bed for 4 to 6 weeks. Although we still had a long and arduous road with our outpatient therapies, Carly made it out of Mary Free Bed in 2 weeks. The therapists and doctors were constantly amazed by the recovery she was making, as well as her diligence, strength, and determination. Every day, she was making progress much faster than they originally anticipated. We were so grateful for the miraculous blessing of recovery and her life. Psalm 77:14 says, "You are the God who works wonders. You have made known your strength among the people." Number 4, another lesson learned was finding joy in every single second and deeply cherishing the time we are given. When we were unable to be together as a family, we learned to truly appreciate the gift of time and family. During that time away, our hearts broke for Carly's extreme struggles, the upheaval and painstaking trials in our family, and the seemingly endless days of this journey. Days literally felt like weeks. I remember thinking how I yearned for things I tended to tread before the accident, like laundry, dishes, running errands, making dinner, listening to sibling squabbles. But that's what I wanted. I simply wanted life to be back to normal and for all of us to be together again. It ached our hearts to be split in two directions and to not be there for our other children when they were also facing a huge trial to see their sister like this. Even the beauty of going to bed at night knowing we had everyone under the same roof was a deep yearning. I realized I underappreciated every single day. We hear it all the time, but I think we need to continue to remind ourselves to cherish the gift of time together and to see joy in everyday moments. Honestly, I still struggle with this and take for granted the many blessings God has graciously given me. I am still a work in progress, but I desire to try to make the most of every single moment God's blessed me with. Number 5, I learned to never miss a chance to glorify God through the good times and also through the trials that seem so extremely unbearable. He has a plan, and He is with us and will ultimately be glorified. Maybe He will be glorified through healing or a miracle, but maybe He will be glorified through being able to walk alongside someone who has faced a similar situation. He may be glorified through your strength and even through your weakness and reliance on God. He will not waste our pain. It says in Romans 8:28, God works in all things. When people you know are facing tough circumstances, don't ever doubt the power of a prayer, a hug, encouraging word, a meal, a card, a helping hand, or simply a listening ear when walking with someone when their worlds are shaken. To this day, memories of this trial seem to get the best of me as flashbacks of seeing Carly lying in bed unresponsive as she fought for her life surfaces at the most unexpected moments. Sometimes when I hear a song, see a sign or an ambulance, or drive by a hospital, I can't help but lose it emotionally. This journey impacted me and my family in many unimaginable ways and will likely last a lifetime. However, as you can see, with the blessing and provision of God, all of Carly's hard work and dedication, she's truly a walking, talking miracle. We are grateful for God's blessing, provision, and presence in our lives, the lessons we've learned that have stretched us in ways I never wanted to be stretched, brought us to places I never want to go again, but through it all, God has grown us, revealed Himself, and has been our ever-present help during this heart-wrenching trial. God is with all of us through our joy, tears, pain, and trials, and He loves and cherishes each and every one of you. May God bless each of you.